Good morning, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the Mike and Ian Christmas Spectacular Holiday Show. It is Christmas Eve. We are broadcasting live from the DolphinsTalk.com staff Christmas party. It is wild in here. Ian, how are you doing, buddy?
I am having a great time in this virtual Christmas party. Merry
It is.
Christmas to you,
It's.
Mike. Merry
It's.
Christmas to everyone. We're getting our presents early, aren't we, Mike?
We are getting our presents early, especially this Saturday night with another game, which we will talk about soon. But this party's getting wild. Tom Ernest over there dipping into the eggnog. I can see Josh is over there getting on the singing songs over there, singing with the band. So our staff Christmas party's off to a wild start, and you can see all this, of course, on YouTube because we are going to put this podcast up on our YouTube channel. So check that out. Let's talk about the Patriots game. Oh, but first, I have to pass along my condolences, Ian. Fantasy football, the playoffs. I swept you this year, 3 out of 4 games. You only lost 4 games all year, 3 of which were to me. Not sure how it happened. Your team on paper, much better than mine.
I bow down to you, Mike. I'm so glad there was no money involved in this.
I know, really.
So
thank
upset.
God there's no money, just fun. Ryan Tannehill, thank you very much. You carried me this week.
Only 5 touchdowns, right?
Only 5, I know. But this week it'll be our Super Bowl with myself and Kevin Dern. Once again, on paper, he has a far better team than me, but games aren't played on paper. So, into the real stuff. Dolphins, Patriots last Sunday, home finale, Hard Rock Stadium. Real quick, my 3 thoughts from this game. Number 1, I think it's the most satisfying win of the season because of all the injuries and all the guys that were out. That was a satisfying win. I mean, first half was ugly. Second half, they were outstanding. Number 2, Chan Gailey. I hope finally all of his critics, all the people who criticized him, shut them up forever. Because when you're missing, essentially your top 3 wide receivers, your number 1 tight end, your left guard, and then you lose your second string left guard when he goes down to injury in Solomon Kinley, and you still put up the offensive performance they had in that game, especially on the ground. Chan Gailey called a brilliant game against Bill Belichick. Number 2 and number 3, the offensive line. The offensive line was just outstanding. So those are my takeaways from the game. Ian, you were there in person. Some of your thoughts.
I was hoarse by the end of that game because I said I'm going to go out with a bang. I'm going to be yelling for our team in the stands. And, as you said, the first half of the game, it was a little, I think it was disappointing to a lot of people. I kind of, again, I tend to stay off Twitter when things aren't necessarily working as well because I don't want to, I just don't want to join in on that negativity. It
becomes
right?
Successful, yes.
Exactly. And I'd rather wait to see the full picture instead of give a halftime, crazy take on what's going on. So, the second half was, again, a totally different game. It looks like they made the adjustments. But, I've said in the past in prior episodes, prior podcasts that, the offenses won the games, the defense won certain games, the special teams won certain games. This game, the coaches won. And I've heard and I've seen a lot of comments where this past week, Coach Brian Flores outcoached his mentor, Coach Belichick. And I think that was evident with the game plan. We knew that the offense was going to be struggling. We knew that the offense was going to be down some of these guys. Actually, we didn't know until game time that like Devontae Parker wasn't going to be there. But they knew what they were planning. So they said we're gonna run this rock. We're gonna run it right up their gut and see what we can do. And they planned. Obviously, they planned this throughout the week. And look what happened. I mean, over 250 yards on the ground. Not a lot in the air, but they did enough. And the defense too, Mike, I'm going to talk real quick because they're number 1. They are the number 1 defense in the NFL right now, in my opinion. When you're looking at the statistics on what they are best in right now, they're number 1 in takeaways in the NFL. They're number 1 in third down percentage allowed, which is, again, a huge statistic.
That's one that matters.
And then also in scoring allowed per game. And we've talked about it before that, yeah, maybe they give up a lot of yards, but they don't give up a lot of points. And we have the best defense in the league when it comes to those 3 categories. And I think those 3 are some of the most important ones that a defense can have. So I was really impressed with this game.
Especially points, because as I say, and I've said in the past, when you look at the scoreboard, it doesn't say yards, it says points. That's how we keep score. That's how we judge things in this league. Points. So, they're fantastic on that side of the ball, which is not really a shock because even if you listen to our shows back in September, I know they started off the year a little rough, but that had more to do with no training camp, no off-season workouts, a lot of new people being mixed in. from about mid-October on, yes, they have been the best in the league, I think, especially with the way Pittsburgh sort of fallen off a cliff because they were outstanding on defense. Past month or so, not so
I
much.
don't think anybody's
Miami,
afraid of Pittsburgh anymore.
nobody's
No
afraid
one's
of
afraid of
Pittsburgh.
them.
I was never afraid of them.
Yep.
That's why I was never in fear of them going undefeated and all that good stuff. I'm like, trust me, if you watch them enough, there's nothing to fear there. They won their games, God bless them, but now we're starting to see them be exposed a little bit. But the Dolphins against the Patriots, I mean, a sensational game all around. Guys stepping up. Lynn Bowden Jr. had another strong effort. I think heading into next year, he is going to be a much larger factor in this offense. But this year, he has stepped up in a big way when they're down all these receivers and played great. Salvin Ahmed, another great game for him. He was outstanding. Patrick Laird had a few nice runs himself. Even my favorite player, Matt Breida, can't knock him this week. He was great on Sunday. So overall, a lot of positives from that game, which leads us to the next topic, the playoffs. Look, I think it's simple. Miami's got to win the next 2 games. They're in. If you're waiting for help, the Ravens aren't losing. And even if the Ravens lose this week, since they're playing the Giants, a team from the NFC, I'm not even sure that actually helps much. It doesn't. So if you're waiting for the Ravens to lose one against the Giants or Cincinnati, I mean, could it happen? Yeah, it could happen. I don't think it will. I know Cincinnati just played the game of their lives. The odds of them doing that twice, probably slim. You got the Colts. They have Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. If they only had to lose once, it'd be great, but they got to lose twice, and Jacksonville ain't going to beat them. You also have the Browns. They have the Jets, and they have Pittsburgh. If you only had to lose once, you'd be okay, but they got to lose twice. So these teams losing twice just seems unlikely. Miami, just win twice. Period. End of story. We'll talk about the Raiders game. What are your thoughts, E, on that?
It's December 23rd. The day, Christmas Eve is tonight. Or excuse me, December 24th, Christmas Eve is tonight. And we're talking playoffs with 2 games left. And there's so many seasons that we've been through where you needed to win that last game or those last 2 games, and we didn't do it, right? And I think there's a certain level of confidence this season that we haven't had in those other years, where we feel like we've got our defensive players. These statistics don't lie, right? And we've got one of the best defensive groups, if not the best defensive groups in the league. We can win these final 2 games. This, I know we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the Raiders game upcoming, but these are winnable games. And, people are like, and I know they like to jump past the Raiders and talk about the Bills, but you know what? That's a winnable game too.
Absolutely.
We lost to the Bills by 3 points, and we didn't have Byron Jones playing in the game, and we had Ryan Fitzpatrick as our quarterback. It is a very different team from week 2, and people don't realize that. So I'm with you. I don't want to depend on anybody else. I don't want to be thinking about who's going to win what games. I like for us to win those 2 games, and I think we can do it. But let me also say this, Mike. If we don't make it to the playoffs, and I know I've said this before, and it does pain me a little bit to say it, but
we still
I'd be okay.
Season.
Yeah, this season would still be this would be a success. This would be a successful season. And you got some people out there that say if you're not going to the postseason, if you're not winning the Super Bowl, it's not a success. But look at where we were last year. One statistic real fast, and I know we talked about this briefly. Last year, our defense was 32nd out of 32 teams in points allowed per game. And this year we're number 1.
Number 1.
It's like night and day.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not that I don't want the help from these other teams. It's just not coming. You have to be realistic. I would be more than happy to take help if the Ravens lost the game. The Ravens aren't losing to Cincinnati week 17. I can promise you that. Now, sure, crazier things have happened. I know people go, well, Miami beat the Patriots last year. Yeah, okay, it could happen. I'm not saying it's impossible. But the odds of Cleveland losing the final 2. Cleveland, if you look at all the games they played this year, they haven't lost to one team that's bad. Now, all of a sudden, at the end of the year, they're going to lose to the Jets. I mean, it's just not feasible. And then you got a team like Indianapolis who's been playing outstanding for the past, 5 or 6 weeks. They might lose once. They got to lose twice to help you. It's not going to happen. So it's not that they don't want help. It just ain't coming. So they just got to win out. And also this narrative, which I put out a tweet. I put out a few tweets this week. Number 1, like you said, they've already won 9 games. If they lose the last 2, let's say worst case scenario, that's a 9-7 season. Short term, it would suck. We'd be not happy. Let's just put it that way.
Sure.
But after about 4 or 5 weeks, when we start to look back on the year, dang, with all the injuries and stuff, we won 9 games. We were that close. And just think what next year is going to bring when we got some money under the cap, when most teams don't because it's going to go down the salary cap. Miami's one of the few teams. It's not great spot, but they're in a good spot cap-wise. Of course, all the draft picks, which I know we're going to be talking about that January, February. We're going to be talking about that all off.
Hopefully February, March, not January.
Hopefully February, March. You're right. All the draft picks, all the money. You're going to look back. It might take a while because the pain would be bad, but it's a winning season.
Yep.
The other thing I sent out a tweet about is this. Some Dolphins fans have to check their pride at the door. Look, there's a narrative out there I see on social media where if Miami loses to the Raiders, or say they win one of the final 2 games, and that miracle does happen, where somebody loses twice, or the Ravens lose to Cincinnati, and they get in the playoffs, Miami.
Then.
They don't belong.
Yeah,
they backboard in, blah, blah, blah. Folks, first off, if they win one of the next 2, that's a 10-win season. There is not a reasonable person on God's green earth that would say a 10-win team doesn't belong in the playoffs. You win 10 games. I don't care what weeks your 6 losses came. If they came week 1 or 2, week 15, 16, 17, who cares? It's a 10-win team you belong in. And this whole notion that you backdoored in, got help, got lucky, so all of a sudden it doesn't count, that is absolutely foolish. If the Dolphins lose once, and if the Ravens win out, do you think Ravens fans or the Ravens in general are going to be like, well, we got lucky because Miami? Hell no. They're going to be like, we won 10 or 11 games. We deserve to be in the playoffs. And that's the way Miami Dolphins fans need to start thinking. If we were like 7-9 or 8-8, it'd be different. Okay, I guess I see your point. Still kind of stupid, but I see your point. At 10 or 11 wins, that point goes out the window. We earned it. We earned it. Period.
I agree. And there's really not much more you can say about that. And the fact of the matter is, now this season, there's going to be 14 out of 32 teams that are making it to the playoffs. So that means you have 18 teams that wish that they had that scenario, that they have the additional week,
exactly.
And that's what you have to be thankful for. And that's what you have to really kind of hang your hat on to say, I'm glad we made it. Because remember, when you get to the playoffs, doesn't matter what you did during the season. You have a 0-0 record when you jump into the playoffs, and it's basically as you either win or you go home. And I'll tell you, and I've seen this narrative a little bit more, especially in the national media, which sometimes I like them and sometimes I don't. But
we're talking about that next. Don't worry.
Yeah, okay. The narrative that I've seen from them is if the Dolphins make it to the playoffs, watch out, because we're going to be getting healthy around that time. Also, again, talking about our defense and then our coaching staff, how we're able to change things up, because now the story is not just we're one-dimensional, we're going to focus on our quarterback. Now, guess what? We have a running game. So if we have a running game and a possible passing game, and you've got this dynamic quarterback, if we get to the postseason, watch out. And that makes me so,
because you look at
so
the
happy
AFC,
to say that.
Look at the AFC. Realistically, outside of the Chiefs, I'll put the Chiefs on a whole different level. You look at the rest of the AFC, the Browns, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, the Titans, we can beat any of those teams. Now, the Chiefs on the road, that would be a challenge because we're going to run into the same issue as last time. Can we keep up with them offensively? We don't have the weapons they have. I get that, and I will tip my cap to the Chiefs. They're on a whole different level. But when you look at Pittsburgh, the Browns, Tennessee, the Colts, we can beat any one of those teams. Any one of them, bar none. And on the road, we can beat those teams because what we have in Miami is this. The number 1 team on defense, like you said, and we have a quarterback who, I know he threw a bad red zone interception last week. That's rare. He doesn't turn it over often. And when you don't turn it over and you don't let teams score, you don't get blown out and you're in every game. And on top of that, when you have a guy who up until we had on his partner doesn't miss a lot of kicks, that also helps as well. So we have the recipe to win close games on the road in cold weather, where we have it in years past, minus the Chiefs. But yes, so I am right with you on that, Ian. I'm right there. We can win. Just got to get in. That's why it's so important to get in. And these next 2 games are going to be huge, as they say.
So to your point, too, real quick, Coach Flores in his press conference today actually addressed that question about why are you not having Tua throw more than 20 yards and more frequently? And he said exactly to your point, Mike, that I'd rather have a quarterback that is making first downs, that's moving the ball down the field versus a quarterback that's taking a lot of chances, a risk down the field and getting interceptions. Because when you get he said it. He said when you have a quarterback who's throwing a bunch of interceptions, you are going to lose games that way.
Can't turn it over.
And so that's a mentality. And I'll tell you, that's a mentality that Dolphins fans probably aren't happy to hear because they want to see him throwing those 30-yard passes. But we've talked about this either the last show or the prior show that we don't have the weapons right now for him to be able to do that. And especially last week when, half the offense was out, right?
Yeah.
So, but, if Devontae Parker gets healthy, hey, who knows what's going to happen with Preston Williams, even though I think he's going to be out for the rest of the season, but he may come back for the postseason, right? You have that. It throws another dimension out there.
Yeah, and plus, we're running the offense we have to run this year to win this year. You want to see the offense where he's throwing it around? Maybe next year we are that team. Once we add some wide receivers, once we add a big play running back, once we add parts. But that's next year. And I don't like talking about that yet because we're still in the middle of this year. So we might be that offense a year from now, but to win this year, you get, like we always say, you got to play the hand you're dealt. This is the hand we're dealt. We don't have a ton of wide receivers who are going to run down the field, beat their guy man on man, and get open for a big pass play. We just don't. If we did, trust me, we'd use them. We don't have them, though, so we run what we have. Now, we have to talk E. Now, E, you might not know this, but you brought joy to my heart this week because it is usually me who is sometimes accused of being a little hot-headed, flying off the handle, like to go on the attack against someone in the media, especially the national media. I love our local media. I have no beef with them. The national media, though, there's no love lost there, and I might go after a person here or there. But as I said probably over a month ago or more, I'm not going to be jumping on the national media because it would be an everyday job, and I can't get myself worked up like that. And as Dolphins fans, we shouldn't either. But every now and then there comes one. Or this week there was two, but you went after one.
This specific one got really under my skin, Mike.
It did, and I could tell. And I go, Ian Berger, I am so happy you are in my life because I am starting to rub off on you after all these weeks. Because Ian Berger, Mr. Positivity, the nicest man on Dolphins Twitter, had a moment, as they say. He had a moment, and I'm going to read the tweet because it's not a bad tweet in the moment. It's only bad if you don't follow up on it. So, in the first half of the Miami game versus the Patriots, the Dolphins don't look good. They can't get up any points, really. Mike Greenberg of ESPN on Get Up, formerly of the Mike and Mike Show, puts up a tweet at 2:18 in the afternoon, right around halftime. Rookie quarterback, scoreless at the half versus Bill Belichick. Some things never change, which is a perfectly fair tweet. But when you fail to follow up on that at the end of the game, because the second half was a totally different story, you got to say, oops, boy, I was wrong. Oops, Tua really turned it around. Say anything. Say anything. I don't care. Yep. Just say, my bad even. I don't care. You just let that hang out there. You're a fool. And Ian, you called Mike Greenberg, and sorry for swearing at the office Christmas party, everybody, on his bullshit. And I loved it. Share. Go ahead. Speak.
And I don't remember word for word what the tweet was. Do you have it in front of you, how I responded?
I don't.
Okay, so it was something to the effect of, why don't you follow up with that where a rookie quarterback actually did figure out, Bill Belichick and his, the way that he defends a rookie quarterback by scoring 2 touchdowns. And basically, you're right. I just bounced right back at him. And, and I did it in a nice way, right? I didn't do it I didn't accuse him of anything. I didn't call him names because that's very common in social media. But I looked to see if I looked to see if he did have a follow-up tweet, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt and he didn't. So that's why I responded to that. And I saw a video on his page too. And he was, I think he just got an Apple Watch with his family and he was watching the Red Zone channel because I could hear it in the background. But he did not say anything. And he's a huge Jets fan. So I have a feeling he was probably a little upset about that because the Dolphins. Yeah, exactly. And then of course with the Jets winning that killed him even more. I know.
Yeah. And, once again, with the national media, I always say this. And it is weird that I said when we have a global superstar like we do with Tua Tagovailoa, you're going to get this as, the national media just loves to build someone up just to rip them down. And that's what they've done here with Tua. They built him up over the years when he was at Alabama. Now they're enjoying, taking shots at him, trying to, he's not as good as Herbert. Maybe they screwed up and all that stuff. And like I said, you can't get worked up over all of it. But there are some times where I will say everyone gets a hall pass because you have to. And there was another one, which I know you probably saw, which drove me nuts. Ben Volin, Boston Globe.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. This is the Boston Globe. As I told Tom after the game, Boston Globe. You can make a case top 5 newspaper in the country, no worse than top 10. Big time publication. It's up there with New York Times, up there with Chicago Tribune, Washington Post, Boston Globe. You would think a guy that works for the Boston Globe, I don't care if it's for sports, knows what he's talking about. He put up a tweet after the game, and this guy, so once again, sorry, he has a hard-on for the Miami Dolphins. He used to work for the Palm Beach Post covering the Dolphins. His tweet was, Miami Dolphins fans sure are chirpy after that win. Tua was a backseat passenger, and the coaches obviously don't trust him. Now, once again, that's just a dumbass tweet. Now, as I said, it's one of two things. Ben Volin is just bored and is looking for ways to entertain himself, so he's going to troll Miami Dolphins fans. Because when he puts that up, he knows what he's going to get for a reaction. So he's just bored, having fun, entertaining himself, which I think for someone who works for the Boston Globe is very unprofessional. But hey, he can ruin his career if he wants. Not my job to stop him. Or he's just dumb as a box of rocks. And I don't think it's that, because nobody who covers the NFL, especially for a publication like the Boston Globe, can truly believe that. And, I just think look, he threw it out there as red meat. He got the reaction he wanted. And that's why I say to Dolphins fans, every now and then you want to go have your moment, flip out, go for it. But you can't do it all the time, because this is not going to stop as long as Tua Tagovailoa is our starting quarterback. To say he was a backseat passenger in that game is a joke. Why would you throw the ball when you're running the ball for 6 yards a carry and they have over 250 yards on the ground? Who would hold that against him? Number one. Number two, he ran for 2 touchdowns. Some backseat passenger, he ran into the end zone. Sure.
And by the way, 5 of his top, offensive weapons were not in the game. But who wants to mention that, right?
Well, I mentioned that. So those 2 guys are idiots. Now, here's where I have 2 other examples I want to talk about on the opposite end, where guys can take criticism of our quarterback. That's fair, and they don't deserve to be attacked. Number 1 was Ross Tucker, who used to work for SiriusXM NFL Radio. He's come on our podcast many times. Nice guy, played in the NFL for many years. He put out a tweet, and this is fair. You might not think he's right, and maybe he's wrong, but this isn't a knock, and this is a fair thing. He put out a tweet on Sunday. Admittedly, limited sample size, but I've seen more from Hurts than I have Tua at this point. And I actually think that he's been pretty good, talking about our quarterback for the Dolphins here. Tua, just Hurts has been better. That's fair. Someone can have that opinion, and you can't, I know some fans of Dolphins went after him, and that's wrong. That is a fair opinion. He says, look, it's a small sample size, I know. I just think Hurts, from what I've seen, is better than Tua, which I might not agree, but that's a fair opinion. It's not crazy off the wall. He's not saying, he's a backseat passenger, blah, blah, blah. So I think those are instances where fans of the Miami Dolphins on social media sort of have to let those slide, because that's just one person's opinion, and it's not really a knock.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. We talk a lot, and and this is going to probably be the next 5 or 10 years. We're going to have this exact same conversation almost every single week, because when you look at what Burrow did before he got hurt, when you look at what Herbert has done so far this year, and now Hurts, the one thing that all 3 of those teams have in common is they don't have a very good defense. So they're always having to throw the ball a lot more in order to catch up, in order to try and get points. So, versus Tua, where we heard Coach Flores today say, I'm not going to have him throwing the bombs just to throw the bombs and possibly turn it over. Instead, he's being very conservative with the play calling. So that's not That's not Tua's fault. Listen, we've seen Tua have to throw the ball, right? We saw him throw for over 300 yards not too long ago. We saw him throw that game against the Cardinals and win that game. So for us, and again, the one thing that's common, or the one thing that differentiates Tua from those other three guys, is we're talking about playoffs right now. He's won a bunch of games, and we're talking about winning 2 more to get us to the playoffs. And those other 3 guys, they've been playing loose. They got nothing to lose.
No
they
pressure.
can throw that ball around all day. They have zero pressure. The coaches are the same. Hey, let it go, right? So, and some people would say, well, you got a great running game. No, we don't.
No, we don't.
We haven't had a good running game.
We
Our
have
defense has really been able to help us.
Exactly.
So if we had a running game, then someone could say, sure, your running game has been doing more than your
One week we had a running game. 1 week.
Yeah, exactly. 1 week.
1 week.
And that was the week we needed it because no one else was really there to catch the ball.
So that tweet I saw from Ross Tucker, I think is totally fair. And that's a fair stance. You might not say he's right. And, reasonable people can say, oh, no, I see it this way, you see it. That's fine. But that's not like Penn Volins is just totally off the wall. Obviously the coaches don't trust him. How the hell would you know the coaches don't trust him? You don't have a clue. So
Mike, I have to mention real quick about how I responded to that tweet because I did see it too.
Yeah, go for it.
I said he's not welcome to cover the Dolphins again because I have a feeling that he's one of those reporters that likes to go to the winning team, and he's been with the Patriots now for 5-6 seasons. And now the Dolphins are looking like they're going to be a winning franchise for the next couple of years. So I told him to stay away. Basically,
he's just playing. Yeah, I mean, he's just having, in his mind, he's having fun, and he's playing the role of bad guy wrestler. That's all he's doing. And fans. Whatever. I mean, once again, everyone gets a hall pass every now and then. So if you want to go off on one, but just don't let them always work you up. The other thing I want to mention is this too. Joe Shad, who does great work for the Palm Beach Post, he used to work for ESPN as well. And I've known Joe for many, many years. Actually, when I used to have my other website way back in the day. I'm old, way back. And he does great work. He put up an article late last week with Hal Habib comparing Justin Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa. Now look, and it was a fair. I mean, most people I think saw the headline, never read the article, which always drives me nuts. If you're gonna flip out, at least read the article. I mean, you gotta know you have to know what he said. You can't read one sentence of a headline and flip out when you don't, because it was a fair article, and they were just going back and forth on pros, cons, what they've seen so far. They admitted small sample size, and people were flipping out. Why would you write that? What? Why this? That? And then. The one that drives me nuts is they go, you're just doing this for clickbait. Folks, I have to explain what clickbait. People throw out clickbait. People are throwing that out too to Ben Volin. Ben Volin sent out a tweet, not an article. There's nothing to click. It's not clickbait. So you're on mute, Ian.
I say he doesn't get paid for tweets.
Exactly. He didn't get paid for tweets. So let me explain to you what clickbait is, because people throw out this term, and I put this out there too in a tweet, and Joe actually liked it and gave it a retweet because I think he's like, I got one person out there trying to educate people. Here's clickbait. If I put up an article with a headline that says, naked pictures of Meghan Markle, and you click it, and you read an article then about Justin Herbert, clickbait. I baited you with a headline, you clicked it, and you got something that's nothing to do with the headline. If someone puts out a headline that says, Justin Herbert versus Tua Tagovailoa, you click it, and it's an article about Justin Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa. There's no bait, and nobody forced you to click it because nothing was there to bait you. Hence, not clickbait. So you see an article you don't like, don't click it. But it's not clickbait because the bait is false advertising, misleading, something to bait you to click something that has nothing to do with the headline. So and look, I know social media has a lot of younger people who might have not went to a journalism school or class. I took a few classes actually way back when I was in college in journalism. And, this is something at the time wasn't spoken about too much because the internet was kind of new, but there is like bait and switch type things. And this is, that's clickbait. When I mislead you, Joe Shad didn't mislead anybody. Okay. The headline matched the article. If the headline does not match the article, that's clickbait. You might not like the headline. You might not like the article. You might think it's a dumb article. That's fair, but that's not clickbait.
Yeah, I saw the article and I chose not to read it because I'm tired of the comparison, and we're always comparing. And again, I go back to, we're 9-5 and we're talking about playoffs, and Justin is not, and that doesn't make him a bad quarterback.
No,
that just makes the fact that our guy has won more games more important to me as the consumer, as the reader, and I chose not to read it. Now, I love Joe's work too, and I've seen a bunch of his articles, and I actually like all of the different writers because they all come with like a different flavor.
Exactly.
Yeah, a different flavor, different style, different opinion. Some of them are more probably more X's and O's than others, and some are smarter about the game than others. But that's fine, but that's why you have the choice to read.
And that's what a lot of the newspapers do. They like to have a mix. They want to have someone who can do the X and O stuff, and they want also someone who can do a story about, Salvan Ahmed's, got a family member in the hospital, and so like the homie stories, the stories that tie the players on the human side. But they also got to have someone who can do the X and O stuff, because when you listen into those media sessions like you have, like I've been lucky enough to do, you can hear same newspaper, multiple people who work for said newspaper asking two different type of questions because they're each going for two different type of angles. Right. So that's their job. And I think people sometimes lose sight of what their actual job is, and they don't know what clickbait is. I just had to get that off my chest because it drives me nuts.
Let me just say one other thing.
Yeah.
Mike. There's not enough stuff this week to read about because I am so hungry for more Miami Dolphins content this week. And I'm like,
it's a tough week. That's why
it's such a tough week because it's a prime time game, the biggest game for us this in the last 2 years. It's like I want to read more.
All right, let's get to some news because we haven't done much of news yet. Number one, the good news. On Wednesday, our running back, Myles Gaskin, came off the COVID list.
Excellent.
Will play on Saturday evening. Great news there.
Yep,
great news. Because they need more warm bodies. Still no word now. Parker, Grant, and tight end Mike Yuzaki practice in limited form on Wednesday. The team is flying out on Friday. Don't know what's going to happen on Thursday yet because we are recording this prior to Thursday's practice. Yep. But, like I said last week, the most important one to me is Parker. Parker's the one that draws attention from our opponents. Grant, be great to have him back. It'd be great, too, for the tight end. I just don't think he's anywhere near to play, but I might be dead wrong.
We'll see.
We'll see. But at least we're getting back a running back to have a full complement of healthy running backs. Xavier Howard made the Pro Bowl. Great news there. That was announced on Tuesday. And then, once again, people got mad at the report. There was a report, which we're not going to spend a lot of time on, in the Miami Herald, that Xavier Howard and his agent want a new contract. You know what? I don't blame him because the agent's not doing his job if he's not asking for more money off a year like this. Because if you're Xavier Howard, you're not even the highest paid cornerback on your team. So, of course, you're going to want more money and be at least the highest paid guy on your team.
Agreed. And I read it and I was like, do we have to start this drama now? Do we need to start it right now with 2 games to go? But bad timing, I think, is what it was in my mind.
But he's not sort of putting up a stink. He's not pouting saying, I'm not going to show. It's just they've asked. And this is going to be something. Whenever the season ends, it's going to be the top story. And, once again, people got mad at the reporter. Folks, it's not the reporter's job to sit on stuff like this. They have to report it. That's what they're paid to do. So don't get mad at Armando Salguero for this, because who wouldn't report this? I mean, if I had the scoop, I'd report it. I mean, I'm not stupid. Come on, you got to report it. Yes. So we'll talk about that more in the offseason, though, because it's not a big deal now. But
it'll be a big topic, sure.
It's going to be a huge topic because it might mean they have to let him go. But once again, that's a topic for the offseason. We'll talk about that. Also, last bit of news, the Miami Dolphins released Antonio Callaway. I don't think it's a knock on him. Look, he missed a lot of time. And to be thrown into the mix late like he did, it was going to be tough. He's a talented kid, and it sounds like it was through no fault of anything off the field. It was just an on the field issue, which for him, that's great. I'm happy for him. He just, didn't meet what they were looking for the rest of this year at least. And who knows, maybe he's brought back after the year for whatever reason. But he's gone, is what it is. And they're going to roll the rest of the year with what they got. That they have Ford, they have Lynn Bowden, they have Perry, they have Hollins, and hopefully they get back at some point Parker and or Grant. We'll see, but there was just not really a spot for him anymore. I do say this, though, with his release, that might be a sign that they know Grant or Parker will return this week.
Yeah,
Maybe.
and some breaking news today though too is that the Miami Dolphins did actually sign someone to the practice squad, a wide receiver. So it's going to be interesting to see. And I was just looking for his name, and I don't see his name. It's somebody I don't recognize, but I think like you said, it's of no fault of his own. But I do know that he got a lot of opportunities. He was especially last weekend. He had the opportunity to get himself some punt returns, right? He didn't get on the field too much because I don't think he was on the field at all as a wide receiver.
One offensive snap.
Yeah, so but the coaches must have decided that for some reason. Maybe they just didn't want him to get hurt as a punt returner too. Maybe that was a thought process.
There's a couple things here. Number one, he did have surgery back in like January, then he missed all that time. That's tough to overcome. True. But the good thing for him is, and I'll say this, because there was a lot of stuff off the field with him. He kept his nose clean, and next year hopefully is a more normal year with a regular off-season workout program and all that stuff. He will get a shot, if not in Miami, somewhere else, because he proved he can keep his head on straight for like a year. And for him, that's a great thing. And I actually am very proud of him for that because, he's very talented. And maybe it does take a year for him to get back to 100%. And he's going to find a job somewhere.
Well, and I do wish him luck. And on the same tone, I know we're not going to jump into too much of this, but I also want to wish Josh Rosen luck. Yes. As he got signed by the San Francisco 49ers on Wednesday as well, to their active roster, not even their practice squad. Their active roster.
To sign someone off the practice squad, you can only do it if you put him on the active roster.
Yep.
So now he's on. Yeah, I am a huge fan of Josh Rosen. Yep. I thought this kid, he didn't get a raw deal per se because he had all the opportunities in the world. But, the narrative on him when he came out of school was so bad. True. And everyone you talk to, whether it was in Arizona or in Miami, say he's like the greatest guy in the world, hard worker. I don't know why people say that about him. They loved him. And from the times I saw him in media sessions and such, he was always great, would answer any questions. So I was very happy to see that as well, Rosen, because he's a good guy.
Yep.
Okay, so it is Christmas. It's always that fun time of year. And I know you are Jewish and celebrate Hanukkah. For me as a kid, I always remember heading to the shopping mall with Mom, getting Christmas food, Christmas, a free candy cane, and going to sit on Santa's lap. Sure. And, this year with COVID, you can't sit on Santa's lap, any kids. And, if I wanted to do it at my age, I'd be a creepy weirdo anyways, but let's just play along for the bit. So if I were to go to the mall this year and sit on Santa's lap and ask for what I want for Christmas, Miami Dolphins themed, here are some of the things I would ask for. You tell me your thoughts.
Okay.
The first thing I'd ask for this year from Santa Claus is, Santa, can you make Devontae Parker's hamstring all better by the 26th so we can have a Christmas miracle and he can play versus the Raiders this week? Can you, Santa? Can you do that for Christmas? A little Christmas miracle?
Yeah, that's a good wish. But is that your first one? Because I'm thinking of some other ones.
Well, I have a list here.
Okay.
Play along. You got to play along.
Okay, I'm playing
Number 2, I want to say, Santa, I want Xavier Howard to win the award for Defensive NFL Player of the Year. Can you make that happen, Santa? That's a good one, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think it's a good one. I think it's very possible, too. He's going to make it happen.
Third one, Santa, when you're going down the chimney this year to all the homes of all the little boys and girls all across the globe, can you leave everyone a goddamn mask so everyone can wear a mask? So next year I can fly to Miami and watch a game in person because there's no more COVID virus. Santa, can you leave everyone a mask this year? And, leave a note, wear the damn mask.
Yeah, no, that's a big one. Nothing I would like more than to have tailgates with my daughter and see all of the fans and all the worldwide fans and people from around the country and meet you in person, Mike and Tom.
Me and Tom, you want to party with me and Tom next year?
Absolutely.
It will. Look, as long as this thing is going to last for another year, it will happen. Like I said, we're going to go out and have a big meal that Saturday night before. Awesome. Santa, I would ask, Santa, can you make sure Brian Flores please wins NFL Coach of the Year? I want that as well.
That one's going to be a little tougher because what they're doing in Cleveland is really, really impressive.
I think if we make the playoffs, it will happen.
Agreed. And that's what I was just going to say. If it depends on if we make the playoffs and depending on how far we go in the playoffs too. If the Browns are one and done and some way, somehow we're able to win the first round and get to the second round, I think that then it would be a shoo-in. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, all the talk about Mike Tomlin is now gone because
It's
Mike
over.
Tomlin was at the
Done.
top of that list. Yeah,
Stick a fork in him.
he's not even on the conversation anymore. So
No,
it's really a two-man race.
it'll either be Flores,
Stefanski,
Sean
right?
McDermott with the Bills, or with Cleveland.
Stefanski, I think
That's
his
it.
name, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It'll be one of those three. If Miami makes the playoffs, considering where they were previously last year, I think he will win it though. I would ask Santa. Santa, we have to travel to crummy, snowy, cold, awful. My favorite city, haha, Buffalo, New York, week 17. That day, can you make it a nice 70 and sunny that day, week 17, when Miami travels to Buffalo? Do you think Santa can help us out there?
You know, you're asking
Some
a lot
Christmas
for
magic.
Santa. Yeah,
I know.
you're asking a lot for him to change the climate, but anything's possible.
And I don't know if you heard the story, E. True story. That a fan of the Bills died recently from drinking too much milk.
No.
Want to know how?
How?
Because the cow fell right on him.
I know that was a joke too,
yes,
right?
it's a joke.
Yeah, but it's funny. That was funny.
He was
I
taking
liked
it right from the tap.
I liked it. I liked it.
Would you call a member of the Buffalo Bills with a Super Bowl ring?
Non-existent? What?
Thief. Just two little jokes for my friends.
For the Bills, yeah.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be a holiday show unless I'm picking on the good.
I like it. I like it.
Two more. Santa, can you have the Jets win 2 more games to further damage their draft position and fall even further down in round 1? Although I think after the Cincinnati win, they're kind of locked into to pick number 2 no matter what. But I don't care. Win a couple more games. Let's hope for. I guess
let's hope for it because then Gates will get re-signed again next year.
You know,
that's what we want, right?
Something he wins his final 3 and they keep him.
Yeah, because he's got a win streak. Why not?
Yeah, and last but not least, the only thing I really want for Christmas, Santa, you can ignore the rest, because I want the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs. That's all I want. That's all I need. 1 playoff spot. Come on, Santa, come through for me.
I was going to say, so I know I don't celebrate Christmas, but for a Christmas gift for me, that's exactly what I want, Mike, and I know all the Miami Dolphins fans too. That's what they want. They want the Dolphins to make it to the playoffs. And, you know, and for us to even be talking about it during Christmas time, this is so much fun. This is such a fun time for us. And let's enjoy it. Let's have fun and let's have fun Saturday night and get that dub. And then jump into Buffalo. I mean, can you imagine the excitement next week if we win in Vegas and we have that one final game against the Bills, regardless of if they're starting their starters or not? I don't think it matters.
That's their problem, not mine. I don't care if they do.
It's going to be such a fun week. It is going to be such a fun week. And so that's going to be the first game of 2021 when we play the Buffalo Bills.
It's going to feel like the 1990s all over again.
Yep, exactly.
Miami versus Buffalo. Everything on the line, at least from Miami's side. It's going to be a huge. That'd be a big game. Real quick with the plugs. Manscaped. If you haven't put in your order by now, it's not coming by Christmas. But Manscaped.com still has a lot of great products. Go to Manscaped.com. Use the promo code Dolphins Talk. Big E's holding up the lawnmower 3.0 right now. You can buy that. You can buy the crop mop, the crop mat. You can buy mints. You can buy the weed whacker. You can buy the crop preserver, your deodorant for certain parts of your body, and all that good stuff. So go to manscaped.com, use the promo code Dolphins Talk. Also at Fanatics, if you buy anything from the website Fanatics, even if it's not Miami Dolphins related, go to our website, the main page. If you're on your smartphone, scroll all the way to the bottom. On a computer or tablet, right-hand side, about halfway down, click that link just to get to Fanatics. Throws us a couple pennies. So use that there. One other thought I had about the Jets before I move on to the Raiders game. Ian, how, it's going to be Christmas morning in 24 hours. How many fans of the Jets do you think had family members go out there and buy number 16 Trevor Lawrence jerseys, wrapped them up, and they're sitting under Christmas trees right now? Because, if you're a fan look, you can get any jersey made with any name you want. You don't have to wait for it to happen. You can just go buy one that's blank, put number 16, Lawrence, boom, and it's there. And, if you're a fan of the Jets, they're not going to win. There's no chance they're going to beat the Rams or any of these teams. We're going to get a Trevor Lawrence jersey, probably put in the order a few weeks back, put it under the tree, wrapped it up, and now it's worthless.
Oh, well, and I know there's 2 weeks left, and
Anything could happen.
Anything can happen. So I don't want to jump on that too much, but I don't think so either. I did see a picture of a Jets fan already with his number 16 Lawrence jersey on, watching TV in a bar, and with his head on top of his hands on top of his head, like, oh my God, what do we do? And one of my very close friends is a New York Jets fan, and he texted me. He was not happy. He was not happy with that Jets win, because you look the last 9 weeks, you're saying, okay, we're going to get this great quarterback, but now it's almost like, from what some other fans that I've heard, they're kind of talking down about Trevor Lawrence, which kind of blows my mind. But yeah, exactly.
Because if Jacksonville found a way to win a game, the Jets would be like, Trevor Lawrence is the second coming. And so, look, fans are fans. They get very emotional at times. I get it. Trevor Lawrence is a real deal. And they lost out on 20 years of a great quarterback, most likely. And that's their problem, not mine. And to go through a year like that, like we went through that year last year, but we kind of knew at the end of the day, granted it was 5 wins, not like 1. It was still a rough year, though. We knew, okay, maybe we don't get this quarterback, but there's 3 relatively very good at the top. We're going to get one of the 3. Hopefully we get the guy we want, which we did. But if not, we're going to get someone. The fall off from 1 to 2, I think, is very drastic. And the Jets, they might not even take a quarterback now. They're saying, they might say, you know what?
Sam Darnold's build around Sam Darnold. Yeah.
Build around him.
Please do.
Exactly. I mean, look, I think he's good. I don't think he's great, although he had a game of his life on Sunday. He did. He was fantastic. But that's going to be fun to watch as well in the offseason. But enough about the offseason. Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins versus the Las Vegas Raiders Saturday night in that black hole type stadium, whatever they call it, out there in Las Vegas, Nevada. No fans, empty, won't hear a peep. Let me start off with this. I think where this game is won or lost is the Raiders can't stop. They couldn't stop a runny nose right now. They are just brutal on defense. They have a lot of injuries, so I will give them that. But they're brutal. And you have the Miami Dolphins on offense, not their strength of the team, but they have a lot of injuries as well. If Miami can score at a reasonable rate against the Raiders, I think they'll win. If, there's no Parker, no Grant, if the tight end's out, who knows about Flowers and Solomon, Kinley, if those guys, if it's a mess like it was last week, I think all bets are off, and it's going to come down to be a close game. Now, with the Raiders, we don't know who's going to be the quarterback, because as of Wednesday afternoon, their starting quarterback, Mr. Derek Carr, participated in practice in full. Now, look, his injury about 10 days ago or so was pretty bad. And I'd be very surprised if he plays. I still think it's going to be Marcus Mariota. I think this is mind games. That's just me. But we might see Carr at quarterback. Who knows? To me, I'd rather see Marcus Mariota, because I just think he's a turnover machine. E, what are your thoughts here?
It's interesting, because Marcus Mariota, when you saw him go into the game over this past weekend for Derek, and you saw Derek, he came up and you could tell right away he wasn't going back in the game because he pulled, obviously it was his groin muscle that we found out afterwards, but Marcus added a spark to that team. And I think where he added the spark was not just passing, but also being able to do it with his legs. And even the announcers said, Derek Carr can do this. He can run a lot as a quarterback, but they don't ask him to do that a lot. So, my hope and my one only concern that I have is that Marcus is going to have that game that we've seen before, where somebody's trying to revitalize their career, and then all of a sudden they have the game of their life, and then they end up becoming like a starting quarterback somewhere else because of the game they played the Dolphins. I'm just hoping that's not the case. And you're right. When Marcus was with Tennessee, he lost his job because he was so ineffective and he threw so many interceptions. But when I saw him play this past weekend, he looked healthy. He looked like he can run around a lot. So I think it's just going to all be about the game plan. And the second piece that I think is going to be so important for the Dolphins is to stop the run. Josh Jacobs is one of the best running backs in the league. And, we have given up some major yards to running backs in the past this season. So I think those are going to be the 2 items. On offense, I don't think it's going to be a hard time. I think again, we're going to have 3 strong running backs in the backfield, and then whoever we have on the wide receiver. And I believe, it's my honest opinion, that we're definitely going to get Devontae Parker back. And here's the reason why I say that. There was a report before the New England Patriots game that Parker was going to play. And then at inactives, it was announced that he was inactive. So I think he is going to play this weekend. Regarding Grant, I don't know, but let's be honest. I think a lot of people have lost some confidence in Grant because of some of his easy drops that he's had. Some of those guys that actually caught balls this past weekend were important plays. They were first down plays. I think you get Mac Holland out there, right? You get Lynn Bowden Jr., excuse me. You get Devontae Parker and Isaiah Ford, right? And those are your 4 guys that you're really primarily focusing on. And the tight ends, I was so impressed with some of those tight ends.
They've been great all year.
Yeah, and I would love to have Gesicki just because he's kind of the safety security blanket for Tua, it seems like. But those other guys, when they're catching the ball, they are lowering those shoulders and they are running through defenders to get to the first down. So I've been impressed with those. So I think we'll have a good offense. I think we'll be able to move the ball pretty well. I think if Marcus is on there, I just hope he's not going to have one of those career games. But I do think it's going to be a Dolphins win. I'm not going to predict a double-digit win like I have in the last couple of games, but I think it's going to be a Dolphins win because I think we're coached better. I think we have a better talented group of guys. And again, this is the 3rd time I've said it the show, we have the number 1 defense in the NFL right now.
And that's where this game's going to be really won or lost. Because the thing with Marcus Mariota, he looked great, but once again, it was up against the Chargers. And, no offense to the Chargers, they stink.
True, yeah.
Now, if you have the Miami Dolphins with a week to prepare for a guy, it's going to be totally different. The one thing about the Raiders, I will say, they are a little bit scary. They have weapons on offense. They have a lot of weapons on offense, and they can put up points when they are really humming. So Raiders will score some. I don't think they're going to score a ton. It really does come down to who the quarterback is. Once again, with Carr, I'd be careful. This might just be mind games. Because when I saw him go down, and they even said right after the game, that was a severe injury. Now, all of a sudden, 1 week later, he's back. I don't know. I lost you. Now I can't see you. So, yeah. So we'll see about Carr if he can go. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's going to be a close game either way. I think very few games, especially right now with the Dolphins, are going to be quote unquote easy wins or blowouts. Because these games are too important. And the Raiders, they're going to be playing hard as well, just because, guys in the NFL, if they're not going to win, they want to ruin your day. And they have a chance here to play spoiler. They're going to play hard.
Did that.
So exactly. So I think it's going to be a close game. And also, I did have the opportunity to talk to JT the Brick, who's a very famous radio host. He also does the Raiders pregame show, the Raiders postgame show. He can also be heard every day on Sirius XM Satellite Radio, Mad Dog Sports Radio. That podcast is up on our site now. I spoke to him Wednesday. Spoke to him about the game. He talked a lot about the Raiders, the year they have, and all their injuries, how they started off 6-3, and why they sort of fell off a little bit. And then he gave his thoughts on the Miami Dolphins as well. Good interview. So check it out with JT the Brick. I know a lot of people who listen to Sports Talk Radio know the name JT the Brick because he's a very big name. So a good chat with him, and everyone should check that out to get more insight on the Raiders. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. Look, it's the day after Christmas. For those of you who celebrate Christmas, it's you're still home. It's going to be on a Saturday night. Most people aren't going to be out and about. Put on the fireplace like I have right here behind me. Put on the fireplace, get some hot chocolate, maybe put a little bit of rum or something in. I don't know. And sit down, watch the game. And, of course, after the game, check out Tom Ernestine and myself on the post-game wrap-up show, breaking it all down. But, that's all for this week's Christmas holiday show spectacular. This was a hell of a party. Look, it's still going on.
I see Tom over there. He's still at the eggnog.
With the eggnog. We got Ryan Van Hoover over there. He's topping in the party. We got, so many. Everyone's here. Everyone's here having a good time.
Brain, right? Yeah.
Aaron the Brain's over there talking, having a big debate with his brother Josh. I don't know what's going on, but it's wild. But a few things here at the end. Number one, everyone be sure to follow Ian Berger. Oh, my fire just went out. Everyone be sure to check out Ian Berger on Twitter at Ian693 and also his YouTube channel. Search Big E, Miami Dolphins. Big E, Miami Dolphins. Also, follow me on Twitter at Dolphins Talk and go to the website, dolphinstalk.com. We're going to have, like I said, podcasts up throughout the end of the week in the lead up to the game. Ian, anything you want to add?
I just, from the bottom of my heart, from my family, I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas. I hope they enjoy their time with their family. Stay safe. I think that's probably the most important thing, but also do what you can and enjoy the holidays. And then let's go Dolphins, man. That's where we are on December 24th. We are 2 weeks away from the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. We're so close. And I was going to say such as well from everyone here at the website, have a great holiday. Have a great Christmas. Be safe. Spend time with your family and friends and relax. 2020 has been a rough year for a lot of people in many ways. So, everyone has earned. Once again, talk about earned. Everyone has earned a few, as they say, mental health days. So take it this week around the holidays. Relax. Spend it with your friends and family. And everyone have a great Christmas or Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Have a great one. And, hopefully it's another Miami Dolphins win. Hopefully you've enjoyed our little fun holiday show here with a little bit of humor try to mix in. I don't know. And, we'll be back next week with more shows, hopefully talking about that big Week 17 game for the Dolphins. That's the goal, E.
Yes, sir.
Next week, I want to be talking about that, not the what if.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to do the what if.
It'll be a lot easier, right?
Let's
just talk about
fun.
the Bills.
Exactly. Yep. And I'll still have the fire heading on behind me next week, hopefully, as we talk about the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. So, everyone have a Merry Christmas. Everyone enjoy this week's game. And we'll talk to you again after a while.
Fins up, everybody.